Okay. All right. All right. I'll call to order our September 15th, 2025 Planning Commission starting here at 5:03. Looks like we have a quorum. Motion to approve the agenda from our August 18th meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion by Nancy. Do I have a second? Second by Nancy M. And I got Nancy H. and Nancy M. Appreciate you both. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign nay. Motion approved. New business. We have 2025-08-PP-04 Jason Cobblewade on behalf of Thompson Hill Collective LLC of 5404 Winding Way, Evansville, Indiana 47711 has filed a petition to replat of the St. Joe Place subdivision. Purpose replat seeks to be re-subdivided from 7 lots to 14. I know that Jeremy sent everybody a copy of this plat. I know we've had some concerns from some of the neighbors as well as for myself on how this can kind of go. So kind of interested to see what everybody has to talk about. So, all right, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. So, yeah, please. Just if you don't mind, just state your name.
Absolutely. Eric Merton with Primavera and Associates, 1000 Bell Lane, New Albany, Indiana, 47150. Here tonight with Chase Murphy of Murphy Homes. As you mentioned, it's 7 existing duplexes on 7 lots, looking to subdivide those. Right now, those are rental properties. Chase has the vision to take that to a home ownership. The property will have an HOA that will obviously have restrictions and covenants in it, talking about the materials on the exterior of the house, the maintenance upkeep on the lots, and different items like that. No new construction is proposed within the development. I know there's been some question about the roadway system. And Chase, can you talk about that a little bit, what you've had discussions about the existing roadway to get that turned over to public use in the future?
Chase Murphy, owner of Thompson Hill Collective LLC, 3711 Paoli Pike, Floyd's Knobs, Indiana. Charlie Smith had indicated to me when I first bought the property, we had big snow like a week later, and I guess all my residents called you all to move the snow, and I just assumed it was already turned over. I never even thought about it. Charlie called me and goes, "Hey, bro, I need you to get your guys out there to remove the snow." So in talking with him, I was teasing him about, well, why don't we just turn this over to you and you guys can plow the snow. I didn't realize it was private. So anyway, he had mentioned to me that he thought maybe that, I can't remember if he said it needed to be sealed or a top coat. When talking to Eric, the paving area there is in pretty darn good shape. So I would be willing to, his group actually has a man on site that does coring and geoteching. We can take a core sample of that asphalt and verify if it's got the top coat or not. That's real simple. It's non-disputable. In terms of sealing it, I have no problem sealing it. It wouldn't hurt to seal it. That's no problem. But I don't believe it needs, I don't think it would have made it this far without the final coat and Jeff Corbett turning it over and such. So there might be a little confusion there. I'm willing to clear that up, whatever that looks like.
Okay. So that's essentially it in a nutshell. I'm more than happy to see if we can answer any questions.
Okay. Do you all have some? I have some questions.
I have a few.
Okay. Go on.
Trash pickup at present is it dumpster or does the town pick up the trash individually?
Town picks it up.
Okay.
Yeah, they all have individual trash cans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have water and sewer meters for each
Separate.
individual?
They're all separate. We verified that before we even started this process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and you talked about the snow, so that was another question I had. What % occupancy do you have right now? I've been told there's several of them that are empty.
Yeah, we anticipated, since we're not adding anything and we're going from rental to dwellings, that's always a positive, not a negative. I didn't anticipate we'd have a lot of problems with that because kind of a common sense, no brainer thing. So I actually had 2 tenants, their lease ran out, and we went ahead and moved them out because we're anticipating this is going to pass. If it don't, ultimately, I'll just move more tenants in. We'll keep it as rentals and keep going as we're going. It's fine. But so right now, I think I have 2 or 3 vacant right now on purpose.
Mhm.
Prior to that, I've stayed, had 1 vacancy for like 2 months, maybe something like that. But it stays full for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
And will the individuals, I assume, be cutting their own grass, or will the HOA cut the grass? Or
So the thing about HOAs that's a challenge is, you know, if you have amenities, so to speak, then everybody wants it, but then everybody's got to pay for it, right? So where there is a garage,
We host HOA meetings here.
yeah. So you know, like everybody wants a clubhouse all the way until they have to pay for it, you know. So similar projects I've done. I'm the one that built Sweet Amy Way over here off Old 60. We actually have a guy that comes in and mows all the grass, and the HOA pays for it. And that works out really, really well. Really, really well. But there's 32 or 36 units over there. This is 14. So that's something we're looking at. We're trying to get some pricing from our lawn mowing services to see if it's feasible. Because what you don't want to do in this scenario is have a $300 a month HOA fee. And then nobody can afford they can buy the houses, but they can't afford the HOA fee, and that does nobody any good. The good part about this is where they have garages, they can keep their mowers and mow their own grass, or have a mowing service come out and mow it. And you know, it's just normal, just like any other neighborhood. You got to mow your grass, and if they don't, you guys will send them a nice little letter. So we're looking at that. We don't want to get the HOA too heavy. I envision the HOA being fairly non-restrictive and a low yearly fee, as low as we can get it, so that people can afford the units.
So one of the things I read on here, I believe from people in attendance here tonight, they're concerned about not only lawn maintenance, but the outdoor structures as far as siding, and are they all still going to remain to look the same? Or
Yeah.
If this person puts up vinyl siding and that person puts up paint, and are they
Yeah.
still going to look uniform? I guess
So
is what
in the
they're-
HOA documents, we will state that they all have to stay the same in terms of the exterior. Now, they can do landscaping and that kind of thing, but anything affixed to the structure itself, like the brick, you can't paint the brick. You know, you can't put vinyl over the brick. You know, if you decide you want to paint your half of your duplex pink and your neighbor wants to keep it the original, we're not going to allow that per the HOA. Now, as you all know, and I told a gentleman this on the phone, I just had this happen, I think out at Sunset Hills. I just had this happen. The HOA can get together and agree to not have an HOA any longer. And then that would fall back, I guess, to code enforcement or whoever. I'm out of it at that
Yeah,
point.
but HOAs are usually more stringent than what our code enforcement is. They typically require more than what the town or county.
You bet. Well, we're going to set up an HOA and guide just what you're saying against that with the HOA covenants and restrictions. I was just telling the gentleman that I talked to on the phone, he may not be here tonight, but I just said, always put it all out there on the table kind of guy. The HOA could get together and agree to not have an HOA any longer. Now, that's rare, but it just happened to me in a subdivision we developed, sold the lots to another builder, and then maybe they haven't disbanded it yet, but I got a notice. Well, my attorney got a notice that they were wanting to have a meeting to disband the HOA, which is stupid. But, you know, I don't live there. So
Right.
short of that, which then it would fall back to code enforcement if that ever came about. But it's the first time I've ever even heard of an HOA trying to disband that I was involved in. So I don't know.
It's also
Probably
hard to get volunteers to work at an HOA. We run into
It
that
is.
quite a bit.
Well, in smaller units like this, it is. And that's one other reason why you don't want to make it too imposing, because that 1 or 2 people that volunteer, they've just got more to manage. So the best way to handle this is keep it pretty basic, keep the language strong, but in terms of amenities and fences and water features and just all this stuff, it's just more for them to manage. And it's not really realistic. So
Okay.
we'll try to
Thank
keep
you.
it as simple as possible.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, one of my thoughts was, as far as this HOA and your restrictions, that they would be able not to be able to put any type of barns or storage units or anything on the property, even trailers, campers, boats, anything like that. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
So-
So basically, our HOA documents would be consistent with whatever zoning you got, whatever you guys allow in the zoning out there. It would be consistent with that. Now, if they want to put a shed in their backyard, I think that's okay. But as far as campers and boats and trailers and that kind of stuff, it'll be said in there. You can't. This ain't a storage facility. So we'll have that in there.
the other thing was about a buffer.
Mm-hmm.
What form of buffer are you going to place around that before this takes place?
Well, I mean, it's as it sets right now, there is no buffer. I know one of the guys told me on the phone that the gentleman that developed this or built it had promised him a buffer and didn't put the buffer in. I don't know if that's what the guy said. I don't know or not. That wasn't me. We're 20 something years later. Now I own it. So if it stays as it is right now, there's not going to be a buffer. And I didn't have any intentions of putting fences up or a buffer because it's really nothing's changing. We're not adding anything or subtracting anything. So I don't know why the onus would be on me to put up some sort of a buffer. Because if I keep it as rentals, everything's going to stay the same.
Well, yeah, and I can understand that, but I think from a lot of people, neighboring people, will look at it as, okay, now this becomes someone's property. This isn't, it's no longer your property, and they're no longer a renter.
Yeah.
It becomes their property.
Yeah.
And you've been around the block just as long as I've been around the block and known how people, you get 2 or 3 or 4 of them in there and get a little bit more disrespectful, with the way they live and things like that, and all of a sudden you've got so much things, and I just don't want it to be where our code enforcer has to sit there and babysit something that we are trying to support and agree upon.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know if there's any way for some thought or some conversation about whether it's a fencing or whether it's some sort of pine tree planting of some sort to be able to kind of give that little bit of security for both sides.
Yep.
If that makes
So
a difference.
it all goes back to the same thing I stated earlier. And again, I'm not trying to be pushed back real hard. I'm just stating the facts as they are. Sounds great, but then somebody's got to maintain it, and then somebody's got to pay for it. So, right, a pine tree buffer is fine, but the HOA, which is going to be in place, has to then pay for it. So then my price or my fee for the HOA fee goes up, and somebody's got to manage it. And it's all great until they quit managing it, and then we're back to the same. So in other words, it sounds great today to appease everybody, but functionally 10 years from now, was that really the right option? Because maybe the HOA decides, you know what, we're not going to mess with that anymore. We're not going to mow it. We're not going to, then it's back in your lap. So I'm trying to create or not create things that could come back in anybody's lap later. Now, to your point, yes, you get 3 different owners, 4 different owners, whatever, that backs up to them. You have 4 different, where you're just dealing with me right now, right? But these are going to sell for probably $240,000. I mean, we're not talking about dealing with the bottom of the barrel people here. These $240,000 units is what we're going to hit the market at. So, and ultimately, we were going to allow, if somebody wanted to put a fence in their backyard, allow it. If they want to put up a privacy fence, knock yourself out. So, I'm not diametrically opposed to it. I just know, looking into the future, them things tend to have side effects.
Well, yeah, but and then also no due respect. Your units that you sit there and said that you built over on Highway 60. I have a couple of people that bought one from you. I mean, you got a fence, around them. So
The homeowners put them in. We didn't. And they don't all have fences. There's like maybe 10 of them,
Okay.
and they did it on their own.
Okay.
And this would be the same thing. If somebody buys a unit and wants to put a privacy fence in, it's great. Go for it. But again, I'm not diametric. If it meant passing this or not passing it, I'm not an unreasonable individual. I'm just also looking at the fact that if we keep it as it is, not trying to be crass here, but I'm just going to keep it as it is. I'm not going to do anything. This is turning it into residential homeowners, which is always better than tenants. So I don't know that I see the contention. So,
And again, like I said, my dad's always told me, don't ever get in the rental business. So I mean, and now I understand why.
I have 130, and I'm trying to slowly get
you know,
less.
you know, again, you have to look at it from our point of view
Yep.
too. I don't need somebody calling me up 2,
Yeah.
3 years later on down the road, or if I'm running, you know, for another position, you know, within the town, all of a sudden I'm Mr. Social Media, you know, because I sit there and support a project that you wanted to do that I didn't necessarily agree upon, or maybe we couldn't come up to some realization of saying, hey, look, I think if you would take into consideration to maybe get a couple of pricing upon, you know, whether, like I said, it's just some pines that will fully grow at some point in time, or possibly, like I said, again, some sort of fencing to kind of bring that area into their own kind of world, you know, as far as the truly consideration. So that's where I stand, you know, on my thought. Like I said, I just don't want it to, you know, turn into something that it wasn't designed for from the very beginning. So, like I said, I'm born and raised in this town. I drive by there every single day, and so you know, I know that probably a couple of, you know, the renters, even before you had ownership of this, you know, there was a couple of them that didn't care. You know, I mean, they didn't care how they lived, and so. But I do also know 2 people that's lived in them, and they, you know, there's nice units, and they seem to be.
And
Very,
we've
roomy and
cleaned
everything.
things
So,
up a bunch ourselves. I mean, we've cleaned things up, and we kicked some of those tenants out that were problem
Sure.
tenants, and
Yeah.
we've tried to raise the rents and get a better quality of tenant in there. So that's a slow drag, but we've been, you know, we've owned them for like 2 years, so we've been in that
I
process.
understand. And like I said, again, I appreciate it. But like I said, my biggest concern was kind of like Terry's, and I think everyone else's, make sure they stayed unified, you know, and there wasn't any type of stipulations to allow someone to, you know, change the color or anything like that. So, okay, all right.
Well,
Anybody?
I've driven out there twice because I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And I thought instead of keeping it like it is, you were gonna put in 7 more houses.
Oh, no,
And I thought,
there's no place to do
this
that.
is going to be crowded.
That's when she called me.
Yeah, well, and I talked to him and I read it again.
Yeah.
And when you drive out there, you've got Allentown Road here and you got St. Joe here.
Yeah.
And then there's property in the back, a home there, and then on the other side is a single,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean,
Yeah, we're not adding anything. We're just literally trying to
and it's
change
going to
the
be private ownership.
correct.
per se.
Yes.
So these,
So the
and they've
They've-
already hooked up to all the utilities according to my vision.
You bet.
They get mail out there. Their mailbox is already set
Yep.
up.
they literally it's kind of a weird thing. You got they're going to go from their single family detached or single family attached. It's no different than if you know build 5 houses on 5 different lots. We're just instead of the houses being detached, we survey the lot line right down the middle of the building. So you own your side and your yard front and back. This side owns their yard front and back. And then I know a question that comes up a lot is how do you handle like the roofs and that kind of things? Well, same story. HOA guides that. And then, I mean, I sold 36 of them successfully over here in Sellersburg on Sweet Amy Way. And these insurance companies have language that kind of, you know, in other words, if you got to replace half of a roof, you got to come over half and it's got to match and all those kinds of things. So all that's it gets worked out. But yeah, we're just going to split so instead of 7 lots, it's going to be 14 lots, but we're not adding a thing. No buildings, no add-ons, no nothing. And it'll go from rental dwellings to hopefully $240,000 units that we sell times 14.
Question for you. If someone renting right now wanted to put up a shed out on the back of the property at their cost, could they do so?
So same story. I'm kind of take my own medicine with the HOA stuff. As a landlord, I don't allow anything extra because then I got to manage it. Right. So, I've had that. I say that I will work with my elderly tenants. Like if they want a screen door or something like that, that's like if they leave, it doesn't really change anything. But as far as like a shed, In a situation like this, I wouldn't allow it. No, because I have to manage it if they leave. So
Or if
that's
they took it with them when they left.
yeah. I mean, if in theory, they would say, "Hey, I'm going to give you a deposit to put this shed here, and then when I leave, I'm going to seed the grass and I'm going to take my shed with me." They just always forget the part about the seeding the grass and
Yeah,
taking the shed
I
with them.
understand.
I end up with a new shed that I don't need. So I wouldn't allow it in a rental sense. But again, home ownership, if they're going to put a shed up, they're going to maintain it.
I get it.
Whatever. Just like any other house in the city is allowed to do. Same.
Covered Bridge has some.
Patio homes.
Yeah.
Patio
Yeah.
homes.
Yeah.
Now,
Similar.
my question is right here. So this guy owns this part and this guy owns this yard?
Yeah.
So you would allow a fence to go through there, and that would be.
So the fence would have to come, the fence could not come up any further than say like halfway up the house. So in other words, we wouldn't let it go all the way to the road. It would be like come up to here,
I see.
here, and then to the basically fence in the back.
And would they all have to match? Or you're not?
I mean, wood or vinyl is pretty typical. I mean, it's the wood is a,
With that, wood or vinyl. One house keeps the chain link fence, next house does wood, next one does vinyl. As I'm driving by, I mean,
yeah, it looks like Legos.
yeah.
Or Skittles.
I mean, when this was planned out, it was for rentals.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can kind of see how that fits. Now, when you divide it,
Well,
it's not really governed that way. I
We-
can see how it.
we could,
Because I only own this one, my neighbors. And the other
Sure.
one, if I want to do something, this one doesn't. This one says I don't like wood fences, I like vinyl.
yeah.
And
So
now within 3 houses, it's
Right. I'm the vice president of the HOA in my neighborhood. We have specific language
loves
in there. No, actually, I hate it. We have specific language that only allows one type of fence.
And I'm with that, but let's say if you change it. So neighbor to my side doesn't want to change his chain link fence, one does. And now as I'm driving down, it's really kind of not, a house is a little bit bigger of an area once we divide these. I mean, we're talking kind of, it's going to look kind of different because they're not.
so
it's
they
like fencing half a house.
So they won't be allowed to. Well, it's the same as the duplexes I did over on Sweet Amy. And to his point, like they're not all fenced. A lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't. It's only in the backyard. You really only see it in the backyard. You would see it more on Allentown Road, but we can put in the documents, the HOA documents, and the covenants and restrictions that will only allow, say, white vinyl fence or wood, whatever. The white vinyl probably arguably looks a little nicer, and I'm fine with doing that because because typically when you do the covenants and restrictions, you put in there that you have to approve the fences. I don't really love sitting there and getting emails approving different kinds. Oh, I got this kind of, Arabian wood fence I want to put up. I just assume it all be vinyl. Then I don't have to approve anything. You just put your fence up. Make my life easier.
You got to be a good neighbor to the people that are already there.
Yeah, understand.
And you don't want a cluster of just everything put up.
Yeah.
Chain link, wood. I just
Yeah,
think-
I think the white vinyl's fine, and I'm fine with putting that in here. No contention on my part.
Okay. All right. Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks. We'll open this up for public. Anybody from the public like to get up and speak? Again, if you wouldn't mind, just state your name.
Okay.
And
My name is Sandy Carver, and I'm representing myself, my Jeff Barton, and my father, Marion Barton, that lives at the corner of 705 St. Joe Road and Allentown Road. So this property backs up to my dad's property that he lives in right now, which
Okay.
I grew up in. Okay. Well, I understand you weren't considering any type of fence before, and that you are considering putting that in the HOA. But what I want is to have that fence up before any of them are ever sold. And that's not, considering you say $240,000, that's a nice home. That's your basic home. If you look at the median price of a house, it's okay. And so if you put this fencing up along with vegetation for the buffer, for the aesthetics and so forth, that's going to do nothing but improve the appearance of this property. And it's really not going to raise the price of it that much, in my opinion. So instead of letting the HOA deal with each person when they want to put up a fence, because right now the fence that's up there isn't maintained. The chain link fence is kind of like this. And so it needs to be taken down, a white vinyl fence at the minimum. I think that if you put up something that's brick, that's not going to require the maintenance and the HOA and everything to take it. That has to be handling that the years down the road. And if they dissolve the HOA, then the brick fencing around it is still going to be there. And that's going to make that a community that it's going to be a more desirable area to live in. It may raise the property cost of your resale $5,000 or so, but it's going to be worth it not only to those homeowners who are living there, but to the homeowners that live in that area.
Can you specify where you're wanting to put this fence?
Particularly, like I said, on so here's my neighbors. So all of this at minimum, I don't know what this person desires, but I know the written person would really appreciate it on this side as well. We might as well do at least three sides, maybe partially in the back of this property. It's just gonna make it look like a really nice place and a desirable place for people to want to live, rather than, I mean, right now, I'm not familiar with the exact codes, but a homeowner, generally when you build 14 individual houses, you've got 5 feet or 10 feet from the property line, and you've got some area to play with there in between. But these were not originally intended to be that way. So if you were asking for something more and asking for the variances to do this, then you need to be willing to make it more than what it is right now, and not just put it in a HOA. It needs to be done ahead of time, and not just a white fence. It needs to have some vegetation around it. You're saying that the HOA, you can't promise anything. And that's why I'm saying it needs to be done before it's sold. Because you could have an HOA and a few years down the road it's gone, and we'll never see this fence, just like we never saw any kind of barrier before. If it's not okay to have a shed as a rental because you don't like the looks of it and the maintaining of it, why do you think it would be okay to have a shed from the individual property owner? I don't. Now, and there you go. If you have a fence up there with the vegetation, let them have their shed. I think the grass is another issue. This person cuts it 1 week. This person cuts it every 2 or 3 weeks. If you have that barrier up, that's not that big of a problem. So therefore, if the HOA is there or it's not there, the fence and the barrier is going to help manage that. And that is being managed by you, which should be done before it's sold. I think basically I feel like if they're not willing to put up the money to make a barrier, that I don't see this as a no-go for the people that live in the area.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I am Lou Ann Rickmer, and I live right next to the apartments. And let's just say that back in 1995, when the property was for sale originally, we told the realtor that we would be interested in buying that piece of land, 3 acres. But we were told that it was going to be separated between the house behind it and that property. So let's just say we went on vacation, came back, and it was sold to Jeff Corbett, Premier Homes. We weren't very happy. We felt like the realtor threw us in the bus because we asked, being adjacent to it, that we wanted first dibs. So we didn't get it. At that time, we had 5 kids at home, and we basically have a pretty nice sized house. Well, we're pretty landlocked. And so on one side, we talked the Rothbars into selling us like 10 feet of property. So we were able to do that. On the other side, we weren't able to do that. So he wanted to get as many in as possible, which I understand that. I get that. So we're pretty much landlocked on that side. You can see it's lanes right there by our driveway. So we have talked to Mr. Murphy as far as maybe possibly buying 10 feet of property. That would give us a chance, not us, I shouldn't say us because we're old. I'm going to be 70 this month. But anyway, will give us or whoever has our house a chance to put up a fence or whatever if it gets bad, if HOA goes under, whatever. So we have asked him, to just give us, not give us, but sell us 10 feet of property so that we could, have something, because right now we're landlocked over there. So we're hoping that he will let us do that. But I don't. We're right there by the driveway. That pink, right? That's us. No. We're not in the back. So anyway, we're right there. So that's where we are coming from. We would just like, because I understand we've been there. But well, that's okay. But let's sell us 10 feet.
All right.
Anyway, so
my Uncle Ronnie lives on the other side. Okay.
So we've asked him, could we buy 10 feet? Because honestly, if you're buying this property, you don't really care if you have less to mow, or take care of or whatever. So that's where we are on this. Not that we're against it. We understand because we've seen tenants come and go. We've seen dumpsters out there. People just don't respect, if it's not yours, they don't respect it. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. So, I'm not against him doing this, but I would just like that 10 feet, just in case down the road that we were able to, put up a privacy fence ourselves if they don't do it, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. Just like we didn't get the burn, the swale, the trees that we're supposed to have gotten a long time ago, which were the people that said that it didn't happen. It didn't happen. We've been living there before the apartments were built. So anyway, that's kind of where we're coming from. We just like to have a little bit more, maybe if not 10, maybe 6, 8, something. So we could
or other than if he was agreeing to put up a fence all the way.
Yeah.
That would be no cost to you.
Right. Well, whatever. We just like some way to get a fence or something down the road.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Sure.
Larry Rickmer, East St. Joe, 615 East St. Joe Road. And I have talked to Mr. Murphy. We did talk to him kind of at length one day and mentioned some of the things that you all have brought up to as far as the colors. And it has looked, I don't know, what do you want to say, appealing. It's been the same color. Grass has been mowed, taken care of for the 20 some years that it's been there. And that's, do what? No, that we would just like to stay that way, so that when you look over for us, it would be six lots next to us. We would not like to have 6 different kinds of fences if people decided to put them up. We don't want 12 different color combinations to be put up, that type of thing. When I talked with Mr. Murphy, he mentioned the covenants, restrictions. Tonight he's talked a little more about an HOA, and I guess all of that would be good, but I also understand where he's coming from as far as if the people decide they just want to do away with that or they don't want to support it, that type of thing. So I understand the problem that goes into there, but I'll just echo what my wife said, that I talked with him about a week or so ago and did mention the possibility of trying to buy a little strip down through there, just to put a little buffer between us and the buildings. And if if a fence is not mandated, whatever, then would give us the opportunity maybe to have a little more of an area to get that done. And again, just a little more space, which we did not have when Mr. Murphy bought that. We did not know the property was for sale, or we would have approached him probably at that time and asked about buying some additional footage, just as we did with the people to the east of us when that lot came for sale, and they were gracious enough we worked out a deal with them, just to, again, to give us a little more space than what we had originally. So we just don't want it to become an eyesore. We like the way it looks. We anticipated, to be honest with you, we probably anticipated that there would be more issues when they went in next door to begin with. We haven't really seen that. And maybe we've had a kid or two come across and play at our playground or whatever. But other than that, no damage, nothing like that. And again, they were well maintained. Grass was mowed, no issues, no problems. So I don't know what else I can say other than that. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Ritter.
I have one question. If it remained rentals and they maintain it, would you need to buy additional land, or is buying additional land just to kind of give you a buffer you would like to have, or would you have it regardless? Okay. Yeah. If you would, okay.
That doesn't help.
No, I understand. But
All right, everybody good? Jeremy, what do you have? Of course.
And such, we would still enforce, the town would still enforce the UDO. So if we went by there and seen an RV park there, they would get a violation because you're not allowed to store an RV there. The fences, there's one problem with the fence on the corner, on these corner lots, is that you can't come out towards East St. Joe, and yeah, it's a line of sight issue.
Correct.
There's an insect there with that property.
I understand. It's just the way this reads, our UDO.
Well, keep your mind.
Well, I am. I mean, that's what I've been sitting here thinking about it. So these two, and it's kind of weird, but these two corner lots are considered to have two front yards. They don't have and two side yards. They don't have a backyard, so to say. So there would be an issue with this particular lot and this particular lot. Then I don't see a problem with fences going all the way around the other lots. But these lots, like this person could only start their fence on the corner of this house without a variance. Could start a fence on the corner and go back. This person is the same. They can't come out towards St. Joe, East St. Joe. They have to go straight back from the corner of the house or get a development standards variance.
Jeremy, there might be an issue too. We just talked about it with your sideline down Allentown Road.
Yes.
Across that pole. I mean, not only the front lot, but maybe
That's-
the middle and at the corner of that.
That's kind of ran through my mind as
You may
well.
have an issue here.
That's right.
Site distance. So in other words, this lot's not only affected this one, of course, they're up this one is affected potentially in some cases.
And I know,
It looks like there's a lot more room, but I think these houses are right on the building line. So I don't know where that setback line and all that falls, but
that's right.
maybe outside of your building parameter, you can't put it.
That's right. So, and also, I know there is a chain link fence there that was placed before this UDO was adopted. Now I'd have to read it some more and clarify on that, get clarification. There's only one other thing that I see that doesn't meet UDO standards is when you split these lots, they have to be in an R2 zone, they have to be 40 foot wide. The lot does. There's lot 2, I don't know if it's 40 feet, and lot 13 are not 40 feet. So those two will have to have a variance. But yeah, that's what I figured. Okay.
You also have to have a lot of variance, 4,000 square feet, lots of trees.
That's right. So to meet the UDO standards. That's right. So those are the issues I've seen. And I mean, I guess the commission can they can tell him to go back and revise it or get his variances. And then before they approve anything, correct?
So, as far as approval on this, from a general perspective is concerned, the first question is, does it check all the boxes in the ordinance? If it does, it's a ministerial obligation of the board to pass it. If it doesn't, then you can put conditions on it that are suited to, basically, you to protect, the health, safety, general welfare of the community, and to, as closely as possible, conform to the ordinance where it deviates from the ordinance. There's been a lot that's been said that, I can understand a lot of the reasons behind people wanting fences and certain height and stuff like that. But if it's not in the ordinance, then it's not really something that you can condition approval. A lot width, that's something else. Obviously, if a lot width isn't up to the requirements in the ordinance, then one of the ways to handle it would be to have them seek variance and table it and come back once the variance has been acquired from the BZA. Or you could grant it conditioned upon them receiving the necessary lot width variances. But as far as what I've heard so far, is Jeremy the only issue lot width?
Yeah, lot width and area, as they have pointed out.
So there's two issues where they bump up against the ordinance. They have lot width on a few of the lots, and they have total square footage on a couple of them. Any of the conditions that you would impose on the granting would have to be geared toward mitigating those circumstances. From what I see, I guess just the way things work, I don't know how any of the HOA conditions would actually even really address those issues. I don't think an HOA could do anything to address those issues.
So, Alex, what I'm understanding is we couldn't approve this tonight if we wanted to, because they have to apply for variances, or we could apply it conditional on them getting the variance.
Yeah,
Either way is the same thing.
It's more or less the same thing. If you do it, if you approve it conditioned upon their receipt of the variance, it saves them having to come back for another meeting. And you would appreciate it. Yeah, because if you approve it conditioned on it, then they go to the BZA, and the BZA gives them a thumbs up or down on the variances, and then this will automatically take effect because that condition will have been. So,
All right. Well,
it's both ways given at the same end.
Also, just, I hope that maybe you could go back to the drawing board a little bit and maybe taking some of the things that these folks have asked for some consideration as far as.
But if we try to get 10 feet and you're left, you don't even have enough property, square foot on that one lot, then we're.
So let me.
I appreciate you wanting 10 more feet, Larry. But that's really got nothing to do with what we're doing here tonight. So, okay.
Well, so I'm just sitting here running some things in my mind. The brick wall sounds great. I won't be doing brick wall.
And no disrespect, not that. I lived over at Village 100 Station. Steve Klein put a brick wall up, and it had come down. They're just all that, and you get that moisture in there, and it's a lot of waste of money. I was going to agree with you on that. But if you could figure out a way to want to be I mean, you've been a good servant to the community. I know you're trying to grow within our community, and I greatly appreciate it. But, you know, take in consideration, if I lived here, would I like it or not? That's the question. And so,
We have to flesh out the sightline issues and that kind of thing. Jeremy might go answer this right now. So I don't know if fence is the answer. I think the answer is probably going back to the thing you mentioned, the planting, put some trees up. I don't particularly have an issue putting trees around the whole property. And that might address their issue too, not even to buy the property, just to put the plants up. I'm not diametrically opposed to that. I'd probably be willing to commit to that. We have to check the sightline issue because on the left of Allentown Road side, we may just not be able to do anything.
Yeah, possibly
But
not.
let's say we can, I would commit tonight, record that if we can, I will do the plan. It's my goal to get the conditional approvals, we don't have to go to these days. I mean, no offense, you guys are lovely, but I'd rather not come back here 5 times. And I don't think they want to be thrown out on Tuesday night or Monday night, whatever it is, 5 more times. So I would commit to that if they can live with that, I would commit to that. I think that's reasonable.
I don't see the problem with, I understand about coming all the way to the road on St. Joe Road, that it has to be no farther than the back of the house. But on Allentown Road, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the line of sight on Allentown Road. So the way this UDO spells a lot of stuff out is it's a line of sight issue. So traffic coming up, if there's a fence all the way to the property line, they can't see somebody coming up. I know there's stop signs, but people have been known to run stop signs. So
No, but if you, you're talking a good 20 feet or so, you put that back there.
you're really basically starting,
I'm
you're
sorry.
stopping.
Bring it from the edge of this unit right here, the edge of this unit right here, over to, you know, how far back in, set back from the road. So that would give plenty, vision here, right here. That's not, there's not a problem. There's a lot of space here. As far as going down Allentown Road, there's nothing that.
I think the issue is right from St. Joe on to Allentown, not being able to see from Allentown.
That's right.
Right from St. Joe Road. No, this one, if you have an inset to turning right, they're not.
Really wide,
They're
man.
not going to.
Just blow it up.
Well, I mean,
Actually, that's out of weight in between whether that's okay.
It does.
You know what I mean?
Well, there again, we don't want it to be unsafe, but if you're gonna do variances for these other things, figure out a way to make that happen too.
Well, if it's a safety issue,
That's not, well, yeah, that's, well, is it a safety issue, even making it smaller square feet and so forth.
So-
But I think that, I do this road 3-4 times a day, and I can pretty much tell you that, if it's inset far enough, that's not a problem.
okay. So
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we table this until I see some design drawings, till he's able to get his variances he needs or not get his variance he needs. And we make a decision on this at next month's meeting.
All right. Okay, I've got a motion by Terry. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right, second by Nancy. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
there's no way this will happen at the next month's meeting because the EPA needs.
Okay,
right.
okay,
Right.
okay.
So
The next meeting. How's that? Word it that way.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, no old business. Communication,
none.
okay. Planning commission business.
I'm sorry, Rotary.
Got a planning commission business,
No,
reports,
none.
legal. Okay, anybody from the committee have anything?
I'm good.
Okay, no consultant, right? Any other announcements? Okay, all right. With that, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Terry, second by Tom. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5:52.